of someone who knows their words have value. When you slow down, you give people time to process. Slowing down means dragging your words or speaking like a robot. Absolutely not. It means being intentional. It means knowing that every word is a choice, not a panic response. It means treating your speech like it matters, and when you do, people treat it like it matters. Here's a challenge for you in your next team meeting when you're asked for your opinion. Resist the urge to launch into it immediately. Take 1 second, breathe, then speak slowly as if each sentence is the only one that matters. Watch how the room responds. Watch how people lean in instead of tuning out. Because here's the truth, when you rush, you look like you're chasing approval. When you slow down, you look like you already have it. And that right there is confidence. Silence. That single word terrifies most people at work. They think silence means failure. They think if they pause for even a second, the whole room will judge them as unprepared, unqualified, or unsure. So what do? They rush to fill it with nervous laughter, with words that don't add value. But let me give you a truth that will flip this on its head. Silence is not weakness. Silence is power. Silence is the moment where confidence lives. Because silence communicates something your words never can. It communicates control. When I'm in a courtroom, the jury doesn't just watch me for what I say. They watch me for how I handle the silence between what I say. And if I rush to fill every gap, they know I'm nervous. But if I can stand there, calm, let the silence hang, let them think about what I just said, then I own them. They lean in. They want more. That's not weakness. That's influence. The same thing happens in your meetings, your presentations, your one-on-one conversations with your boss. You don't need to prove yourself by filling every second with words. Confidence isn't in the flood of sound. Confidence is in the pause. Think about a powerful song. What makes it hit? It's not just the notes, it's the rest between the notes. The silence is what makes the music matter. And your communication works the same way. Your pauses give your words rhythm. They give weight to what you're saying. Without them, it's just noise. Here's the mistake people make. They see silence as emptiness, but silence isn't empty. It's full. It's full of your presence. It's full of the room's attention. It's full of the tension that makes people listen. And when you're the one who creates that tension, you're the one who controls the room. Now, let me give you something practical. The next time you're in a meeting and you make a point, stop. Don't immediately rush into justifying it. Don't pile on 5 more sentences to prove your case. Make your point, then pause. Let the silence work. Let the other person absorb it. If they need clarification, they'll ask. But most of the time, the pause alone will make your point land deeper than another 10 sentences ever could. And here's the kicker: silence makes people respect you. Why? Because it shows you're not afraid of it. People who panic in silence are communicating, I don't believe what I just said, so I need to add more. But people who hold the silence are communicating, what I just said was strong enough to stand on its own. That's confidence. Let me show you how this plays out in real life. Picture this: you're giving an update in a meeting. You say, based on the numbers, this strategy isn't sustainable. Then you pause. The room goes quiet. Everyone is waiting for you to soften it, to backtrack, to fill the space with more words. But you don't. You let it sit. That silence tells the room, I meant what I said, I stand by it. And suddenly, people are leaning in, not because you spoke more, but because you spoke less and trusted the silence. Now, does this mean you turn every sentence into a dramatic cliffhanger? No. It means you strategically use silence where it counts, after a strong statement, before answering a tough question. When you want the room to process, you're not dragging the silence out for show, you're using it to underline your confidence. Here's something you can practice today. Start with small silences. The next time someone asks you a question, don't answer immediately. Take one beat. Breathe. then respond. That one beat shifts everything. It tells your brain you're not reacting, you're choosing. It tells the other person you're not scrambling, you're steady. Over time, stretch the pause. Make a point. Stop. Count 2 seconds in your head. Watch how people lean forward. Watch how the silence draws them in. Because silence creates anticipation. It makes people curious. It makes your words feel heavier. And in a world where everyone's rushing to be heard, the person who controls the silence is the person who stands out. Think about leaders you admire. Do they sound frantic, filling every second with noise? Or do they speak in calm, measured rhythms, unafraid of letting their words breathe? The great communicators, the ones who inspire confidence, always own the silence. Because silence isn't a gap to be feared. It's a tool to be mastered. And here's one final thought. Silence only feels scary when you believe the room will judge you. But the truth is, the room isn't judging you. They're waiting on you. They're giving you their attention. They're ready for you to lead. So instead of filling silence out of fear, hold it out of confidence. That's how you shift from being another voice in the noise to being the voice people remember. Own the silence, and you'll own the room. Let me shatter a myth that way too many people believe at work. Confidence is about being the loudest voice in the room. It's about talking over others, dominating the conversation, raising your voice until people have no choice but to hear you. That's not confidence, that's insecurity with a microphone. Real confidence doesn't come from volume, it comes from clarity. The person who speaks clearly, who strips away the fluff, who lands their point so cleanly that nobody can miss it. That's the person who has authority. Because authority isn't in how loud you are, it's in how certain you sound. I've been in countless rooms where someone tried to bulldoze the conversation with volume. And here's what happens: people tune them out. They hear the noise, but not the message. Because loudness without clarity is just static. But the person who cuts through that noise with a clear, simple point, the whole room stops. They pay attention because clarity commands respect. Think about your own experience. Have you ever been in a meeting where someone rambled on for 5 minutes, circling around their point, piling words on words, until you're sitting there thinking, just say it already? That's what most people do. They dilute their own power with too many words. And the tragedy is, the core of what they're saying might actually be brilliant, but nobody hears it because it's buried. Clarity is stripping away the unnecessary so the necessary can shine. And that's what confident communicators do. They don't try to overwhelm the room with noise. They cut through with precision. One sentence that lands cleanly will always carry more weight than 10 sentences packed with disclaimers and filler. Now, let me give you an example. Instead of saying, well, maybe this is a silly idea, but I was kind of thinking that possibly we could try adjusting the timeline a little bit. If that makes sense, you say, I recommend we adjust the timeline. Same thought. Totally different impact. One sounds like you're asking for permission to speak. The other sounds like you're confident in your point. That's the difference clarity makes. And here's the good news: clarity doesn't require you to be perfect. You don't need the fanciest words. You don't need a speechwriter. You just need to clean up your message. Cut the softeners. Cut the apologetic phrases. Cut the tangents. Deliver the heart of what you mean and stop there. So how do you practice clarity? You start by trimming. Before your next meeting, write down what you want to say, then cross out every word you don't need. Get rid of maybe, just, kind of, I think. Get rid of the long preamble that tries to make you sound smart. Keep the core. That's what confidence sounds like. Clarity also comes from structure. Don't stack 3 ideas in one breath. Give each point its own space. Speak it, pause, let it land. Then move to the next. That structure tells the room you know where you're going, and they'll follow. Here's a courtroom truth. Juries don't remember every word you say. They remember the words you make clear. And your coworkers are no different. They're not writing down everything you say. They're listening for the thing that matters most. If you bury it in clutter, they'll miss it. But if you shine a spotlight on it with clarity, they'll carry it with them long after the meeting ends. Let me paint you a picture. Two people give the same recommendation. One says, I know this might not be the best solution, but I was thinking that if we maybe adjusted the budget, we could free up some room in the timeline, unless, of course, that's not possible. The other says, let's adjust the budget to free up the timeline. Who do you think gets listened to? Same idea, but only one person sounded confident. And it wasn't the louder one, it was the clearer one. And let me be clear with you, clarity is a discipline. It takes practice. You're fighting against years of habits where you've been softening your voice, padding your points, trying to please everyone. But when you start speaking with clarity, people notice. They'll start quoting you in the hallway. They'll start repeating your points. Why? Because you made it easy for them to remember. And that's the secret. Confidence isn't about showing off. It's about making yourself easy to follow. The people who get promoted, the people who get trusted, the people who get remembered at work, they're not always the ones with the loudest voices. They're the ones who can make their point so clearly that nobody forgets it. So, the next time you're tempted to raise your volume, lower your clutter instead. Don't try to be louder, be sharper. Don't try to dominate with noise, dominate with clarity. Because at the end of the day, people won't remember how loud you were. They'll remember how clear you were. And that's what real confidence sounds like. One of the fastest ways we drain our confidence at work isn't in the words we use to make our point. It's in the words we tack on before or after to apologize for even having one. And most of us don't even notice we're doing it. We say things like, "Does that make sense?" at the end of every sentence. Or, "I could be wrong, but," before we share an idea. Or, "This may be a silly thought, but," as if we're warning the room not to take us seriously. And here's what I see happening. Full stop. Now, let's be clear. This isn't about arrogance. This isn't about pretending you're always right. It's about owning the fact that your perspective has value. It's about respecting your own opinion enough to deliver it without pre-apology. Because the moment you beg for permission, you've already weakened your point. Let me give you an example. Imagine two people in the same meeting. The first says, "This might not be right, but I think maybe we could try shifting the deadline." The second says, "We should shift the deadline." Who do you think the room listens to? Both said the same thing, but one came with confidence and the other came with doubt. And here's what's wild most of the time. The person who sounds more confident is the one who actually gets the credit. Not because they're always right, but because people naturally trust certainty over hesitation. People don't follow the voice that's constantly second-guessing itself. They follow the one that sounds like it knows where it's going. This is why you have to cut the softeners. Cut maybe? Cut. Just. Cut I think. Cut does that make sense? Unless you're truly asking for clarification. Stop ending every thought with a question mark. It makes you sound like you're fishing for validation. And fishing for validation is the opposite of confidence. Now, let's talk about why we do this. Because it's not that you don't know your stuff. You know your stuff. The reason you soften everything is because you've been trained to believe that speaking too directly will make you sound rude. That if you cut the cushioning, people will think you're harsh. But confidence isn't harsh. Clarity is not cruelty. There's a way to be direct and still be respectful. In fact, being direct is more respectful than wasting people's time with a padded message. When I'm in a courtroom, I can't stand in front of a jury and say, "Well, Maybe I could be wrong, but it kind of looks like this evidence points to the defendant. If I did that, they'd stop listening. My job is to lead them, to guide them, to give them clarity. And your job at work is the same. You're not there to hedge every idea until it collapses under its own weight. You're there to contribute, to lead, to move things forward. And here's something you need to hear. You don't need to be 100% sure to speak with confidence. Confidence isn't the same as certainty. Confidence is about how you deliver your point, not about being incapable of being wrong. You can deliver with confidence and still say later, "I've reconsidered based on new information." That's not weakness, that's leadership. So here's a practical challenge. In your next meeting, catch yourself before you soften your point. The moment you hear yourself about to say, "Maybe this is a dumb idea, but," stop. Drop it. Instead, say the point clean. "Here's my idea." That's it. Clean, confident, unapologetic. And you'll notice something fascinating. The first time you do it,